It was haircut week. Hey BookTube, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March, and this is my Bookish week for Sunday, July 16th. Yeah, July 16th? Yes, July 16th, because it's my daughter's 16th birthday on Wednesday the 19th. So yeah, not a eventful bookish week, nothing out of the ordinary. Things have been pretty quiet, that's good. It's been kind of hot here, and the rain has not let up. I don't know. It's going to continue to rain here and there. This is probably the rainiest rainy season we've had for the beginning of a summer in years. And if anybody has heard the news, there's a lot of actual real flooding going on in Vermont and in western and northwest parts of New Hampshire. I am nowhere near that, but if you keep those people in your thoughts, there's unprecedented flooding going on in those areas, and it's pretty scary for a lot of folks. But I am on the southeast corner of New Hampshire, so we're doing well here. So let's talk about books, shall we? I finished 2 last week, and I had a DNF, which I will tell you about. But if anybody from the Critical Chicks book group is watching, I am going to review All the Pretty Horses by Cormac McCarthy. So if you don't want to know what I thought, don't watch this. Fast forward, go. Okay, that was your chance. So my book group and I read All the Pretty Horses from Cormac McCarthy. I have read Blood Meridian and The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I didn't really ever think I was going to pick up another McCarthy novel, just simply because he's not my thing. I wasn't interested. And this was picked for our July read for our book group. What did I think? I disliked it. I didn't absolutely hate it, but I disliked it. McCarthy's writing is spectacular, in my opinion. I've always loved his writing. His content, not so much. The content of this book, I was bored to tears. I was left feeling totally discontented. I was disillusioned with the story. I just didn't care. This is the story of, what's his name? John Grady Cole, who is a teenager when his family sells off the family ranch. His father is an alcoholic. The mother has left him, but it was the mother's ranch. She has since sold it. He is left adrift. He has to decide what he's going to do. And they live in Texas, so he and a friend of his, Rollins, decides they're going to take off on their own, find their fortune, most likely in Mexico. So they're traveling west and south. And they do eventually reach the Mexican border, but along the way, they meet a young runaway with a suspected stolen horse. So, what is All the Pretty Horses? What does that point to? What's the point of the title? John Grady Cole actually ends up kind of being a horse whisperer. So they find themselves on a ranch in Mexico where they are brought on as employees, not without some danger and violence along the way. And so he is in charge of training horses. There is a ranch owner's daughter involved. There is a ranch owner and family. They are accused of crimes, and plot ensues from there. McCarthy is an expert at writing about the American West, the American Southwest. His wheelhouse is violence and evil and gore and toxic masculinity. And this book is a watered-down version of that. I was bored, and I was bored some more. I just was not interested in this story. I didn't care about a teenager making his way from his family's sold-off ranch, trying to find his mission in life. John Grady Cole is a very stoic, quiet, flatline character, and that's kind of what happens to me when I read Cormac McCarthy. His characters are not that well fleshed out. They're not very deeply worked out. And maybe it's the books, maybe it's the choices of books that I've read. Probably the best, my favorite book of his so far has been The Road. And Blood Meridian, I think, is a brilliant book, but it's pretty savage and evil. This one I really was bored. This is the first in the Border Trilogy series, and I won't ever read the rest of the trilogy because it didn't capture me at all. I've had enough of McCarthy. I probably won't read any more of his books, and I can respect his writing. I can respect the brilliance of his language and his style, but did not like that one. Nah. What did I finish next? Next, I finished an absolutely beautiful audiobook. This is called Wild and Precious in Celebration of Mary Oliver. I listened to this on audio, and this is a compilation narrated by the actress Sophia Bush, and there are contributions from many different people. There are famous people, there are writers, there are actors, there are former students of Mary Oliver, and they all come together to narrate their thoughts on Mary Oliver and her poetry. And interspersed in between those essays are snippets of Mary Oliver reciting much of her poetry. The audio is absolutely beautiful. And Sophia Bush has a voice that is extremely mellow and soft and lyrical. So it was a joy to listen to her narrate in between each of the submissions of these essays and each of the snippets of Mary Oliver recordings. And listening to Mary Oliver's voice as she's reciting, and often at the same time you hear birdsong in the background or you hear sounds of nature. It was just an absolutely beautiful audiobook. If you are a fan of Mary Oliver or poetry in general, I encourage you to go out and find this audiobook and listen to it. It was a joy and a pleasure to listen to something so beautiful and to listen to people gush over Mary Oliver as a person, those of the people who have met her, and as a poet, and as a professor and a writer in general. So it was a beautiful audiobook to listen to. Highly encourage you to go out and find that one. Okay, I had a DNF, which I was sad about. I started to read Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Madeline Tien as a buddy read with Heidi from My Reading Life and Joe Smith, and I DNF'd it at 50%. Why? Historical fiction and I don't always get along, and this is historical fiction. And it has to do a lot with Chinese politics and Chinese Revolution, and then it goes forward in time to the Tiananmen Square massacre and students revolting. There's a lot there, and it's a dual timeline. It goes back and forth between a contemporary timeline and former Chinese history and Chairman Mao time frame, and then it moves into Tiananmen Square. So there was a lot going on. There was a lot of story in both of the timelines, but I did not get along with this book. If you love music, this is for you. And I appreciate music. I know what I like. I enjoy listening to music, but I am not a music aficionado. I am not a person whose first love is music. I just am not. And this is filled with musical references. There is so much here that has to do with the messages in music, the messages in literature and writing, the reason why people are so passionate about music and what music does, what it can be used for, what it symbolizes. That is throughout this novel, and this one was just not for me. I think it's a very good book for somebody who is interested in learning more about the history of the Chinese political and cultural environment at the time. If you love music, it could be for you. This one was just not for me. So I reluctantly put that aside. And when I say reluctantly, but I don't want to devote so much time to a book that I feel is a chore to pick up. And I got to the point where I felt like that book was a chore for me to open because I just did not respond positively enough to it. And I apologize for looking down because I'm actually setting up another book to show you of what I'm currently reading. But I'm gonna get there, hold on, I'm getting there. I'm kind of talking and setting this up on my Kindle at the same time. But I will get there. Now let me tell you about what I am currently reading. I am currently reading Dawn by Octavia E. Butler. This is book 1 of the Exogenesis trilogy, and I probably am about 35-40% through this book. And Butler was a genius. She was a brilliant author. And what she does with science fiction is she puts so much meaning and message in her novels, and this is the first in a trilogy. I have since ordered all 3 books in this trilogy in print copy because I so far am loving this so much, and really looking forward to picking that one back up. It's a great example of a book that I'm like eager to get back to. So I am also reading The Known World by Edward P. Jones. This is for the Blind Eye Book Club for July. And I'm enjoying this one as well. Today I'm filming on Saturday, and yesterday, Friday, I didn't have a lot of time. Today has been busy, and I'm filming at about 2:40 in the afternoon. I am hoping I can keep the rest of my evening free and not be tempted to watch Outlander reruns so I can continue to read. I want to get back to this one. I want to get back to the Butler novel. And I am listening to an audiobook that of a copy that I have in hard copy, which is really good for me because it has photographs in it. This is Unbroken by Laura Hillenbrand, and this is a World War II story of survival, resilience, and redemption. This is the story of a pilot named Louis Zamperini. And this book starts off talking about his life, his childhood, his family, how he got to be an Air Force officer, what he did, certain events that happened, how he survived. And I'm listening to this one. This is narrated by Edward Herman, and if you know who he is, you know his voice. If you don't know who he is, look him up. But his voice is absolute perfection in this audiobook. So I'm listening to that. That one, I did a lot of driving today for a lot of different reasons, and I got a lot of the way through that book on audio. And I'm having a great time with it. What else do I have to talk to you about? Our book group, my in-person book group, The Critical Chicks, already picked our book for August. Our picker of the month, Lindy, only wanted to bring 1 book. We usually vote from a pool of 3 books. But she said, we're reading The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese. Now, I double ordered this book by mistake, and it's a brand new release, just out now in hardcover. However, it's a 736-page book in hardcover. I found out that in the UK, it's in paperback. So I ordered this copy from Blackstone's in the UK and just got it. The other benefit is it does not have the Oprah Book Club permanent graphic sticker on it. And I am really happy about that. And even though it's a paperback, it still has the bumpy font on the front cover of the book, and I'm really happy to receive this one. And it's paperback, so this giant brick of a book is going to be much easier to read. The other copy that I ordered, I already resold it to one of our other book club friends, and so I think it's been delivered to my mailbox today, and I'm going to pass that on to her. I think that's it. I think that's it for this bookish week. I do have a few other books that I've received, but I'm kind of planning on doing a book haul in a little bit. And stay tuned for that. That's about it for my bookish week last week. Let me know in the comments below what you think about any of the books I showed you, or if you've already read some of them. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.